millions of sperms are approaching the secondary oocyte. I'm calling this as secondary oocyte. So when the sperms are approaching, they go through the vagina, then uterus, then they will reach the isthmus area of fallopian tube, then they will meet the secondary oocyte. Now in this diagram or picture, we can see the sperm first. This is the first sperm who reached. So once the sperm reaches the secondary oocyte, that time the meiosis 2 in the secondary oocyte will be completed, which results in the second polar body inside this, and the real ovum will be produced. Larger ovum will be produced. Now what is left for the sperm is to dissolve the ovum membranes. Ovum membranes consist of corona radiata. These are corona radiators. Then membranes are there. The membranes are zona pellucida. So if the zona pellucida is being touched by the sperm, this induces a change in the membrane's nature. Once one sperm touches that zona pellucida and it undergoes changes, then no other sperm will be able to fuse with this ovum. So only one sperm who reaches first will be able to fertilize. And for fusing or to dissolve the zona pellucida, sperm head has got a structure. What is the structure, children? Which is there, tip of the head?
Acrosome.
Yes.
Acrosome.
Good. Acrosome has got lytic enzymes. Lytic means lysosomal enzymes. So they can dissolve the zona pellucida membrane. Sperm can go further ahead. And the nucleus which is there inside the sperm, that will fuse with the nucleus which is present inside this ovum. And then the ovum will be then called as zygote, which is single-celled. This much took place during the event called fertilization. And it is also said that all copulations or all sexual intercourse will not lead to pregnancy. All will not lead to pregnancy. Only the copulation or coitus, so many these are same meanings. Sexual intercourse, coitus, copulation, all are same. It means insertion of penis into the female reproductive tract. That act is called these three terms. So all of them will not lead to pregnancy. What leads to pregnancy is when there is a simultaneous release of sperm and ovum. Like the sperm, when it is released, that time ovum should be present. If these two presence is there, only pregnancy will come about. Now, the next chapter, when you are going to learn about reproductive health, we will be learning about some challenges for the couples where this kind of presence of both will not be there, and that results in pregnancy issues where failure to conceive will be present. That will be dealt in the next chapter. So this is about fertilization. Structure of sperm. This used to come for 2 marks. You will have to draw head, middle, neck, middle piece, tail, and inside whatever elements are there that you have to draw. This is the sectional view of seminiferous tubule showing spermatogonia, which are the mother cells here, some special cells to nourish the sperm, Sertoli, primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, then spermatid, which will nourish and then become the spermatozoa. This is revising, okay. Now this is spermatogenesis. They used to ask the difference between spermatogenesis and oogenesis. We'll see the differences here that you have to tell. You just look at this, I'll just tell this. Later I'll ask you the difference. This is spermatogenesis, starts at puberty. Spermatogonia undergoes mitosis differentiation. After mitosis, each spermatogonia will become 2. Primary spermatocyte. Primary spermatocyte undergoes meiosis 1 to produce secondary spermatocyte, all continuously taking place during puberty stage. Now, secondary spermatocyte will undergo second meiosis to form spermatids. So, one primary spermatocyte divides into 2 secondary spermatocyte. One secondary spermatocyte divides into 2 spermatids. So we can say that one primary spermatocyte can give rise to 4 spermatids. Each of them differentiates later through a process called spermiogenesis, and taking nourishment from Sertoli cells, they will differentiate to form sperms or spermatozoa. Regarding ploidy, spermatogonia 46 chromosomes, they are diploid. Since primary spermatocyte is a product of mitosis only, they will also be diploid 46 chromosome. But after first meiosis division, secondary spermatocyte is produced, so it will be haploid with 23 chromosomes, half the number of chromosomes. Secondary spermatocyte will become spermatids with second meiotic division. Still, it will be haploid only because second meiotic division is somewhat like mitosis. That's why it will be 23 itself. So every sperm, each one will be haploid with 23 chromosomes. Now, looking at the type of division, primary spermatocyte undergoes first meiosis, producing secondary spermatocyte. You can see the division is equal type of division. Sizes are same. This is a female reproductive organ systems. Accessory ducts. These are the accessory ducts of female reproductive system: fallopian tube, ovaries, uterus, cervical canal, vagina, and these muscles. So the muscles of uterus is called myometrium, and the lining of the uterus, which is richly supplied with blood vessel, is called endometrium. Protective covering here is called perimetrium. In this, endometrium is important, causing menstrual cycle, menstruation. Then myometrium is also important, especially during the childbirth. Myometrium is made of muscles. Every muscle in our body, whether it is male or female, keeps relaxing, keep contracting. But during the childbirth, myometrium has to vigorously contract to expel the embryo, which becomes fetus, and expel the fetus outside through the birth canal. Birth canal means the distance between the cervix and the vagina. This much part is called cervical canal or birth canal. Mammary glands. All these structures will be there even if the female has not entered into a reproductive life after puberty sets in. But even though these structures are present, they will not be having any milk until the pregnancy. Towards the final stages of pregnancy, with the help of the hormones released from pituitary glands like prolactin hormone, then only alveoli will start secreting the milk. So in the ovary, you can see these follicles. Ovary cells have got follicles. Primary follicle, secondary follicle, tertiary follicle. Then the tertiary follicle will become graphene follicle, and it is a graphene follicle that ruptures to form the secondary oocyte. Then the ruptured graphene follicle will become corpus luteum. Tell me, what is the hormone produced by growing follicles? Children, what is the hormone produced by growing follicles?
Estrogen.
Yes, estrogen is a hormone produced by growing follicles. And then who makes this follicles grow is follicle stimulating hormone by the pituitary gland. Now this graphene follicle ruptures to form corpus luteum. What hormone corpus luteum produces?
Progesterone.
Yes. Now I'm revising this because it is having importance in the pregnancy. So corpus luteum has produced progesterone. Progesterone will help in maintaining endometrium lining. If there is no conception or if there is no fertilization, means if there is no sperm when the secondary oocyte is released, no sperm is present in the fallopian tube, means corpus luteum will get destroyed like this. It will get destroyed and the next menstrual cycle will start also. In case fertilization happens, then the corpus luteum will remain. They'll remain because now progesterone should be continuously synthesized to maintain endometrium lining. But it is said that this corpus luteum will be present only for the first 2 or 3 months. Later, the same function will be replaced by somebody else, some other hormones that is produced by placenta. So that we will see now. So that placental hormones will then look after these. In the oogenesis, you can see the differences like this. It starts with fetal life, not puberty. And then the first meiosis is not immediately completed. It is completed only when the female reaches puberty time. Now after completion also, the division was not equal. It was unequal division. Where the secondary oocyte, one cell is very big and the other small one is called first polar body. Then secondary oocyte is the one which is released every month in the name of ovulation. In case sperm comes in contact during adult reproductive life, then only the second meiosis gets completed to form functional ovum and the second polar body. So there are some differences between oogenesis and spermatogenesis in this way. Now coming to fertilization. After the fertilization, this is what happens. So you can 1 minute. As you see in the picture, in this figure, you can see placental villi. So you know that zygote is there. Zygote is first single celled. Then single cell zygote will undergo cleavage to form 2 cells, 4 cells, 8 cells, 16 cells like that. So what is that 8 to 16 celled condition of zygote called as? What is that term used? 8 to 16 cell condition of zygote.
Morula,
Yes.
sir.
Very good. Morula. So if there are 8 to 16 cells after division of zygote, then it will not be called as zygote. It will be called as morula. And each cell we can call them as blastomere. Each cell in the structure in the morula we can call it as blastomere. Later, morula will develop differentiation where there is outside cells, outside layer of cell. What is that called as? Outside layer of cell. What is that called as?
Trophoectoderm.
Yes, you can either call it as trophoectoderm or you can also call it as trophoblast, which was one of the doubts asked last class. You can call them trophoectoderm or trophoblast, both are correct. And then there are a group of cells called inner cell mass. This is inner cell mass. And then the function. Trophoblast produces what? Trophoblast or trophoectoderm will later produce what? And what inner cell mass will become?
Embryo.
Yes, inner cell mass will become embryo. That we can see over here in the picture. This is the inner cell mass. Inner cell mass will first become ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm, tissue level. These tissues will start modifying into their functions. They'll become organs, and then the embryo is present here. This embryo initially will be feeding on yolk sac. You can see the yolk sac here. Initially, it will be feeding yolk sac. Later, it will get attached to the uterus lining. So now coming back to this picture itself, to this diagram I have drawn, inner cell mass is there, trophoectoderm is there. So what is the role of trophoectoderm?
Villi, it will produce villi, ma'am.
Very good. Trophoectoderm will form finger-like projections like this, which is called as, either you can call it as placental villi or you can call it as chorionic villi. Both are same, chorionic villi. And that you can see in the figure here. This is the chorionic villi, or it's called placental villi. These villi will get attached to the uterus tissue like this. So it's like a plug fitted into the socket point, no? Like that. The term used for this is interdigitated. Interdigitated. Actually, digits means our fingers are there. In this, some bones are there. They are called digits. So interdigitated means when the chorionic villi projections gets inserted into uterus tissue. See, it gets inserted into uterus tissue. That is called interdigitated. So this connection is called placenta. Connection between uterus tissue and the embryo tissue is called placenta. Now, from this placenta, what is the use of this placenta? That is another topic. What these are all placental villi. Placenta means the connection between uterus lining or uterus tissue and villi, placental villi. For connection, they have also written the word interdigitated or interdigitation you can use. So the connection between or interdigitation between uterus tissue and villi is called placenta. Okay, now you can just assume and tell me, guess and tell me, what is the function of placenta to this embryo? What helps?
Nutrition, ma'am.
Very good. Embryo very good. So because of this placenta, the embryo is able to take nourishment in the form of nutrients from the mother's blood. So apart from this placental villi, you can see another connection also going on. This other connection is called umbilical cord. See, this is the umbilical cord. So there is a connection between placental villi to the belly button of the embryo here. This is called umbilical cord. So it makes the nutrients access more easier. That's why. That is how it is connected with the embryo. So one function you have told. So through the placenta, embryo will receive nutrients. That is one function. Second, embryo will receive oxygen gas from mother's blood. Mother's blood is having hemoglobin, no, that carries oxygen. So that oxygen will come to embryo like this only, because initially they can't breathe like how we adults are breathing, like that they cannot do. So they have to take the dissolved oxygen present in the mother's blood. So embryo will get nutrients, embryo will get oxygen, embryo will also get some growth hormones, whatever comes to mother's blood. And the waste which is present in the embryo, after having all these nutrients, waste will be generated by the embryo also. Oxygen is breathed inside means outside, carbon dioxide has to be given out, no? That also goes through this placenta back to the mother's blood. Similarly, after having nutrients, the kidney which is there inside the embryo will also produce uric acid, urea, like that waste, nitrogenous waste. So that also has to be returned back to the mother's blood. So when the mother's blood is going to mother's kidney, their embryo's waste is also being filtered out. So there is an exchange here. From the mother's blood, the embryo receives oxygen, nutrients, and in return, embryo will give back, or from the embryo, what will be left, carbon dioxide as well as waste will go back to the mother's blood. Now, apart from this function, there is one more function. Placenta also serves as endocrine tissue, endocrine glands. Endocrine glands means hormone-producing glands, like pituitary gland and all. And those hormones are present only during pregnancy, not otherwise. So the second function, apart from this removing waste and nutrients and all, the second function is hormonal function. Placenta can make hormones. One is human chorionic gonadotropin. Human chorionic, take this down, okay? Human chorionic gonadotropin. As I told you first, no, when I was teaching progesterone, I told you progesterone helps in maintaining the endometrium lining tissue so that the embryo can fit in like this. But it can take place only about 2 to 3 months. That's what I read about, not written in textbook, read like that. After the 2 or 3 months, that function is replaced by this hormone, that is human chorionic gonadotropin. So until the placenta is completely formed, progesterone will look after maintenance work. Once the placenta is formed, placenta will take care of this work. So human chorionic gonadotropin will maintain the endometrium lining of the uterus so that embryo will be able to attach. Other hormone is human placental lactogen. Human placental, because it's produced by placenta, that's why placental lactogen. Lactogen is related with milk. But human placental lactogen actually helps to break down mother's nutrients into even more smaller nutrients. Like sugar is there means it will be broken down and it will form glucose and it will come to the embryo's blood. So it helps in metabolizing, or it will help in further breaking down of nutrients from the mother's blood so that the embryo can use it ready-made. So these are the most two important placental hormones only produced during pregnancy, not otherwise. So one is human chorionic gonadotropin, abbreviated like this HCG. Second is human placental lactogen, HPL. Other than these two hormones, some general hormones are also produced. These two are placental hormones. Other than this, what is produced is estrogen, progesterone. Estrogen, progesterone is actually produced in ovary, but due to the high ratio of estrogen, progesterone already in the mother's body, some help will be done by placenta also. So placenta also produces little bit of estrogen and progesterone, which is required for the baby's growth, estrogen and progesterone. So this many hormones by placenta. Who can tell me the names of placental hormones quickly? Let me see who can tell.
Gonadotropin, human estrogen.
Yes, human chorionic gonadotropin, human placental lactogen, estrogen, progesterone. In this, estrogen, progesterone can be produced even if the female is not entering into reproductive life also, even as a child also. But the other hormones, human chorionic gonadotropin, human placental lactogen, is exclusively pregnancy hormones. Now, other than this, there are more hormones, but they're produced by other glands. Because embryo is growing, no? That's why her metabolism should become fast. So to make the metabolism fast, mother's metabolism fast, thyroxine hormone should be produced. Tell me the gland who produced thyroxine. Which endocrine gland produced this hormone, thyroxine?
Thyroid.
Very good, thyroid gland. That's why doctors advise to have iodine-rich food. And they will check also whether the thyroid hormone is proper or not. If that time they are not taking proper nutrition means, it will affect the embryo. Embryo will become mentally retarded. Mothers might suffer from goiter problems because now her hormones are required for the embryo also. That's why. So this thyroxine levels, which was already there in her blood, mother's blood, that will become high. It will become high because now embryo is present. Other hormones are prolactin. As I told you, prolactin is produced by pituitary gland in order to start secreting milk in the alveolar cells of mammary gland, prolactin. Then there is one hormone, very important hormone. This hormone is produced by ovary only during last stages of pregnancy or gestation period, towards the end. It's called as relaxin. Relaxin. Now, relaxin hormone is produced in the mother's body during parturition, especially. Parturition means childbirth, in order to relax the hip bones. Now, these are the hip bones. Now, here there is uterus. Hip bones have to relax, the ligaments and all have to relax. Then only the embryo will be able to come out healthy, proper way out of the vagina. If these bones are not relaxing, at that time, if these bones are not relaxing, means the embryo or the fetus will find it difficult to come out through the vagina because the bones have not relaxed. It might cause a problem during childbirth. So in order to prevent such occurrences, ovary produces special hormone called relaxin. So the bones and joints and all will become stretched out. They'll become stretched out in order to help in childbirth. So that's about pregnancy hormones. There, I think. So now the fetus is ready in the uterus. The first sign how they will understand is it may be noticed through heart sound through stethoscope. After 1 month of pregnancy, what happens? After 1 month of pregnancy, embryo, yes. So in human beings, after 1 month of pregnancy, the embryo's heart is formed. The embryo will get heart. I have told you already from the tissue called mesoderm. From there, heart will start forming. It is still connected with the umbilical cord. Now, by the end of 2nd month of pregnancy, fetus will develop limbs and digits. Limbs means this is forelimb, this is hind limb. Digits means the finger bones are there, small. They are called digits. That will start forming during the 2nd month of pregnancy. After that, the first movements of fetus and appearance of hair on the head are observed during 5th month. They say that the fetus is kicking, moving. They can feel that the fetus is moving in the uterus. So that is happening in the 5th month. The kick movements, because fetus is trying to explore the surroundings. Now, by the end of 24 weeks, that means by the end of 2nd trimester. Now, what is this trimester? One trimester means 3 months. So first trimester means first 3 months. 2nd trimester means the next 3 months also. That means totally 6 months. 6 months. And you know that 1 month has 4 weeks. 1 month, 4 weeks. So 24 weeks means, how many months it is? 24 weeks means?
6 months.
6 months. 24 by 4, 6 months. So they are talking about 6 months here, okay? Which means, this is from textbook like this they have written. I'm trying to make you understand what is the meaning of all this. By the end of about 24 weeks, that means by the end of 6 months, or by the end of 2nd trimester, the body of the embryo or the fetus is covered with fine hair. Eyelids separate, eyelashes are also formed. So this is what happens during the 6 months fetus, 6 months fetus stage. This is what happens to the fetus. See some hairs are there, no? This is 6 months. Now by the end of 9 months, of pregnancy, the fetus is fully developed and now ready for delivery. It is ready for delivery. So what the fetus will do? Fetus has an important role to play during the delivery step. Now this is the uterus. Now here the fetus is there, fully developed fetus. What the fully developed fetus does is that through its nerves and through the hormones coming out from the fetus, the signals will be sent. The fetus will send signals to the mother's pituitary gland. That signals are called fetal ejection reflex. Fetal ejection reflex. See, by 5 months itself, it started moving. As the embryo grows up, its nervous signals is going to the mother's pituitary gland to give the signal that it is about to get ejected. Ejected means it wants to come out. That reflex comes out from the fetus itself. When this ejection reflex reaches mother's pituitary gland in her brain, pituitary gland will produce a hormone called oxytocin. This oxytocin will cause the myometrium to contract and relax faster. Vigorous contraction and relaxation. All muscles otherwise also contract and relax, but this time it will be vigorous myometrium contraction. Vigorous myometrium contraction. And when the vigorous myometrium contraction takes place, it itself gives a feedback to the mother's pituitary that it's time for the fetus to be expelled. So oxytocin is helping in childbirth also. It also helps in milk ejection from the mammary gland that earlier I have told you. Then what happens? The fetus will be able to pass outside through the cervix and then later through the vagina out. Then there is a placenta which is attached. These placenta or residues also come out. That umbilical cord also will be there. That also will come out, which will be cut by the doctors. Cut. So that's how childbirth takes place. And the step is called parturition. It's called parturition. The childbirth is called parturition. Now, once the parturition happens, when the child is born, the mammary gland will start ejecting milk on suckling of the embryo or suckling of the fetus. Now, the first form milk is very important for the child's immune system, which is called as colostrum. Colostrum has got antibodies. Colostrum is the first mammary gland milk, first time produced. It's very important to feed this to the fetus as it gets born, because colostrum has immune system antibodies. Antibodies will help the embryo to fight against diseases. There are different types of antibodies. The type of antibody in colostrum is IgA. Ig means immunoglobulin. Immunoglobulin is another word for antibodies that we will learn in immunity chapter. So it is producing immunoglobulin A, which helps the fetus protect itself. So that comes from colostrum. That's why it's important for the baby to be fed with mother's milk. They say they have to be fed as long as they drink. Feed them. At least initial stages they have to be fed, otherwise they will not get immune power later part of life. Identical twins, as you told, it is correct. Where the zygote which is formed here, instead of uniformly doing the cleavage, it will divide into two. The same zygote divides into two. Then independently in each half, separate divisions will take place. Such a way that two children will be produced. Two will be produced, but they will be same sex. They will be same sex. If it is female, means two females will be there. Each of them looks similar to each other. So they are called identical. Now coming to what question you asked, fraternal twins. Fraternal twins case, now this ovary produces its ovum. Usually in 1 month, only one ovary becomes active. But in some cases, due to some genetic reasons, both ovaries will become active. So there is availability of 2 secondary oocytes. See, 2 secondary oocytes in the fallopian tube. So if there are 2 secondary oocytes in the fallopian tube, when the sperm comes here, millions of sperm comes here, some sperms will be directed to left ovary, some sperms will be directed to the right side secondary oocyte. Then what will happen inside the fallopian tube? How many zygotes will be produced? Tell children, how many zygotes will be produced?
2.
Yes, good. In this case, here one zygote will be there, and the other side of the fallopian tube, another zygote will be there. So it is just like producing 2 children, but in this case, 2 children are produced at one time. So the difference is that the first zygote, if it is a female, the second zygote can be male also, because we don't know what kind of sperm has fused with these two. So they will look different with each other. So fraternals are like, they are born to same mother only, but they are born separately in such a way that it will be like siblings. Means like from one mother itself, you are getting your sister, your brother, like that itself, but at the same time. So fraternal children, their sex will be different. They can be similar also. Sex-wise, if you see, they can be 2 females, 1 female, 1 male.